Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. So for some of you, it's, I think, late in the evening, too. Thank you so much for joining today. Welcome to how do we distribute compliant social media content directly from Veeva Vault PromoMats. My name is Pushpa Atal. I'm the CEO of MarketBeam. First of all, I hope you are all keeping safe. And around the world, we are almost there to getting all our vaccines. Probably by the end of this year, we should all have it. Back to normal lives pretty soon. So let's get started today. I have Hugh Jenkins from Veeva Systems. Hi, Hugh.
Hi, Pushpa. Thanks for inviting me to join this webinar. Really looking forward to taking part. So hi, everyone. Those of you who don't know me, Hugh Jenkins, Director of Strategy for Digital Asset Management and Content at Veeva. I've been at Veeva for around just over 5 years, and prior to that, spent a long time in the agency world. Great to be here today, Pushpa.
Thank you so much for being here, though. I think many of you might even have worked with you probably in the PromoMats world too. So just a little bit of background about myself, and then before that, just one logistics question. So here, my colleague Pragya is on the call. If you have any questions or if you want to just chat, so just please leave a message and then we'll get to any of your questions during the call, most probably at the end of the call. And then some of you have already asked some questions. So please feel free to text, use the chat window right there. Again, just some background about myself and MarketBeam. I'm Pushpa Atal. I'm the CEO of MarketBeam. We are a California-based social media publishing, amplification, and analytics platform. So we serve many industries, which are including cybersecurity, technology, financial services. But when it came to life sciences, it was a little different, a lot different to say, because of the regulations. It's a highly regulated industry. So when we were, looking at the problems that this very specific industry had, so which was, again, the review process and then the compliance and all those things. So that's when a couple of quarters ago, I met Hugh, and then we were discussing about, hey, you know what how do we put these things together? One is, it is a social media publishing management every day. It is not it is not the old time campaigns that would take weeks and months, but this is everyday content. And Veeva has already created this very well established, just the process of the access controls, the compliance and the workflows for just the review process and approvals and everything. And then we put these two together to solve this in just one simple workflow, and then making it easy for all our customers. So when we were going through it, so literally in the second slide, and Hugh stops and said, let's do this, because I see the same set of problems at my end. You see the same thing there. I think we should integrate. So MarketBeam is a Veeva technology partner. You see the URL right here. So that will take you, we'll be able to share this presentation later. So that URL, you should be able to find MarketBeam on Veeva's partner list. Let's get started. So some of you have already asked some of the questions, before the registration. So thank you so much for bringing these things to the table today. So how to provide compliant content to our team, how do we ensure our social media communications are compliant, and then ways to streamline social media content on PromoMats, applying PromoMats to storage and management of social media content. So all these things lead to one big question. How do we manage social media, which is risk-free, and then make the process efficient? So that's what we're going to address. Streamlining and automating the PRC process is the promotional review committee PRC process. And then we're going to see this in action today, a demo, and then also some question and answers. So Hugh, I think I will let you kind of lead this one, because you've seen so many of your customers go through this process every day. What do you see?
Well, I think, Pushpa, I think pharma traditionally has been fairly slow to adopt social media as an effective channel for communications. And there are a number of really good reasons for that. Firstly, as you mentioned earlier in your presentation, there are a lot of restrictions about what you can do and reasons perhaps that may prevent the sharing of kind of promotional content, at least outside of the US in a social media perspective. But there are ways that I believe pharma can leverage social media more so than they have done today. And I think where we see stipulations on kind of how you can use promotional content, with the FDA providing very clear guidelines about, you know, where you can use promotional content with social media and the things that you have to do in conjunction with that. And whereas the restrictions outside of the US, like the ABPPI, for example, which have very clear restrictions on not being able to use promotional materials at all in the context, as they generally are across all promotional guidelines through in pharma. But I think the opportunity lies in things such as kind of disease awareness, or where you see more complex prescriptions, sorry, not prescriptions, more complex medicines such as personalized medicines, and also more rare diseases, meaning there's more need for things such as disease awareness campaigns or disease awareness websites. And through that can kind of generate the need for enhanced social media presence. Plus, if you couple that with a more inquisitive patient, the opportunities for social media engagements are even more accentuated than they have been in the past. But I think the challenge really is, how do you continue to manage these kind of social media engagements, but mitigate the risk to the individuals, so they're able to kind of create social media content with confidence that that content and the materials that they are creating are going through the right due diligence process and the right approval process, so they're able to kind of utilize social media engagements with confidence. And I think the solution that you have, Pushpa, really helps to create confidence with those individuals, so they can create social media posts in conjunction with the compliance framework that has been built around that and is supported by PromoMats to enable these kind of more coordinated engagement around kind of patients and customers.
Yeah, I think that you gave a really good background about just the different parts of the world have their own regulations, their own compliances, but the process is very similar, right? So one thing that comes to my mind, yesterday it was in the news. So Meghan and Harry's interview became very, very popular everywhere. And then one of the things that over in the UK in the news, they just noticed one thing. Hey, there are so many ads in the US that's all about pharma ads and drug ads, and we cannot talk about that here. So that caught my eye, saying that it's okay, every region has their own compliance and their own ways of how do we take this to public, and then marketing materials. And it is very different. And then it's, you follow that at the regional level. So when it comes to social media, again, it's the content explosion, which is many companies have to handle this on a daily basis. It's not weekly, it is not even like monthly basis, which was used to be the traditional way. When a press release goes out, you have a month to get this reviewed and then go back and forth. But social media is, you do that like every couple of times a week or every day or even a couple of times a day. So, and then also in addition to that, the complexity of social media content is it's very dynamic. And then also there are many components to it. There is an image, there's a video that's attached to it, there's a text, tagging, hashtagging, and there is a destination where it should go to. So which URL, and then what is the content of that URL, where you are letting your audience go. So there are so many moving components to it, and then all of these things to be reviewed. And then this is not in one document. It cannot be in like one PDF, but it's all these components put together, and then all these things have to be reviewed. That's the complexity that we have here with social media.
I think you're absolutely right, Pushpa. It's the content isn't just the individual thing that it once was. It's the combination of the images and the claims and the text copy that all need to kind of be pulled together and approved. So it is an evolving landscape and a more complex landscape when you think about how you're going to manage all these content pieces. And I'm sure the audience today will see the benefit of kind of how MarketBeam can kind of bring these kind of things together.
Mostly we see like 3 teams working together very closely on this process, right? So one is your review committee, which is MLR. Some companies call it MLR, some companies call it PRC teams. This is the medical, legal, and regulatory roles in the same team. So that's the review committee team. And in many cases, there will be an external agency. I think some of you in the audience are from the agency world too, where external agencies that are working with the MLR team, working with the marketing teams very closely. And then of course, the content itself and the distribution itself is owned by the communications and the marketing team internally. So there are 3 teams and then dynamic content and many pieces of content. And we got to produce a lot of this. So there's, you know, the problems are threefold here.
Right.
We were kind of like, you know, looking at this, right? So what is the actual process that goes between these 3 teams here? Starting from even like, you know, creating the social media content, that is the creative work. So the agency or internal teams, sometimes they do that. And then these teams, they want to spend more time and energy into like creating the content, not in the project management. It's creating the content that's where the energy goes to. And the next thing is reviewed by the in-house marketing team, just to make sure that this is in line with their messaging and then other campaigns that are going together. And then agencies create a preview. Because again, this social media has so many components to it. Before even we post to LinkedIn, before we post to Twitter or Facebook, how would a post would look like? And that is the one that gets approved, because it's not just something in the spreadsheet and then you don't know how, when you all put it together, how would it look like when it goes out? So that preview is many times created manually, and that takes up a lot of time too. And then sending the preview back to marketing team, then putting that back into PromoMats for approval. And then once the approval all passes, then sending the approval back. Then either the agencies or internal communications team publish to social media channels, and they start looking at the results. So this is a laborious 8-step process.
Not just laborious, Pushpa, I think also there's a lot of risk. You know, as content moves in and out of different business stakeholders and between different silos, it has the opportunity to lose the consistency of data between these 2 things, and perhaps someone forgets to update the expiry of an image, or someone forgets to create the specific audience that the content's approved for, or the country that it's supposed to be used in. And all these different touch points leads to risk in terms of content being approved that's not fit for that intended purpose. So it's inefficient in terms of it's slow, but I think the risk to me is the biggest thing. If you go back to the initial point I made at the start, where effective social media campaigns has to be coupled with confidence from the individual in order to be able to really facilitate that in the organization. So if you can reduce the risk and apply efficiencies and help customers also to kind of reuse materials and content that they have in the system, I think you have a much better chance of having more successful social media campaigns.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really, really good point. The risk, and then sometimes it's the gap. It's just sometimes it's errors, human errors between the systems that it goes out, right? And sometimes it's just that. And then here, you know, you see that we use spreadsheets, emails, images, links, everything going between people, and then even going outside between 2 domains. When there is an external agency, the content is going out, this is sensitive content, but we are putting that in an email and then bringing, you know, it just even risks to the data itself. So here we're talking about processes that could be more efficient, and then it's resource intensive, and then risk to brand is what Hugh just mentioned. So one of the PR agencies that work with one of our pharma customers is, they just said, he said, hey, it takes more 2 to 3 weeks. And then sometimes it takes a very long time to get these approvals. And then sometimes it's like, I wish I had more visibility into the process. That is from the agency perspective, is like, they don't have visibility, they create content, it goes out, they're just waiting, and they have the scheduled dates, and it kind of becomes black box in many times too. So what we're doing today is bringing that 8-step process to, can we make this more super efficient, and then make it just 3 steps. You're going to see that in the demo. That's going to be exciting. So here, this steps, all these things we can automate, because these are all the things that we can automate in order to, first of all, reduce the gaps in risk, and then also make it easy, and then make it single workflow process to create the content. And then directly it can be reviewed by marketing, and then right after that, an automated way of creating these previews that's exactly required by the PRC team in order to see how a post would look like in LinkedIn or Twitter before even you post it. And then we put all these components together that we were talking about, text and image and everything put together, make it look like exactly the post, like a preview post, create a PDF, put it in PromoMats, and this is for the review. And then all other components that go with it. And this is all automated. And then once it's approved, and you can directly publish to the social media channels. So that means all these steps are cut down and automated. This could be automated because we want to spend more time in protecting the data and in the creative work. So this is what we are aiming to do here: save time, investment, protect brands, and then also individuals. I think, Hugh, you were saying that even individuals can be at risk, right? It's not only the brand.
Compliance breaches means individuals can go to jail. So on the very extreme side of things, so it's just not the it's not the business that's liable, also the individuals. Yes.
Okay. So before we get started with the demo, there is a poll that's coming out to just, take a poll and then say, what is it that's actually bothering you a lot? So there are many problems, because many of you are coming from different backgrounds, different responsibilities within the company. And then let's take a look. So here the question is, what's the top concern in publishing social media content? Compliance risk is, I think it's going to be the top one.
Right. Not surprising. And then it's also not surprising to see manual resource intensive, efficiencies in the process and risks to compliance are the areas that kind of hold pharma back. So, that's very kind of goes in line with what we're saying, Pushpa. So at least we know we're onto something here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the poll. Yes, it is a compliance risk, and also it is the second one is the manual and resource intensive work. Let's get started with the demo. Let me log in here. This is MarketBeam user interface. So here, these are all the posts, social media posts that are published so far here. And then there are things that are pending and some things that could be scheduled. Today, I'm going to show you a simple one. So this is not very promotional content, but we're going to take a very simple example today about this, skincare tips, right? So this is an article. Let's say this is the one that I want to post. I'm going to create a story for review. Story is basically a post. So we got this content. This is the URL that we want to promote. So going back in here, there is an image, there's content, and then we pulled all those things right here automatically, right? So, but at the same time, it's like, this is a new image, and maybe I want to pick something that's already approved in Veeva Vault. So that this is a new image, I don't want to go through this, versus I can pick something from this. Let's go through some images, which could be the right one for this product right here. And probably I would want to go through this. Maybe this is the right one for me to choose. I'm going to choose this image instead of the one that we already pulled. Or you can even upload something from your own desktop and then send it out for approval too. So this is actually coming from Veeva Vault directly. So that means this is an approved image within Veeva Vault, and we are pulling that in MarketBeam. So once you do that, then I'm going to write something like, this is about skincare. Your skin reflects your health. Start simple with the gel that has 100% organic ingredients. I'm going to tag this hashtag with skincare. I'm also going to tag organic gel. So what I'm writing here is the text that's going to go onto my LinkedIn post. So here, different things that we were talking about, right? So different components, there's the text, and we have our image ready. We have our destination URL ready. So this is how I'm going to create a post today. So once I create it, I'm going to choose a time that I want this to be published. Let's say it is, I want it tomorrow. Mostly it is going to be like, much later, but I'm going to choose tomorrow, 9 o'clock. And what I'm going to do is save as draft, coming in here and then see if there are other posts that are ready to be approved. So these are the posts that are in draft, ready to be approved. What I'm going to do is I want to submit for approval. Maybe I'm going to choose this, and this is the one that we created now, and all these things. So I'm going to submit for approval. So what this is doing now is it's creating a preview. So I think first of all, I should have shown you a preview, how it looks like. So it is a preview of the content, how a post would look like. And then also it's creating that PDF on the fly and then sending it to PromoMats for approvals. Let's go here and then see in the library. There is a new document that got created in PromoMats right away. So let's open it. This is the post that we created. This is how it's going to look like when we post on Twitter. We did not make the post yet. So here, your skin reflects your health, and then start simple with the gel, right? So here, this is how it would look like in LinkedIn. And we also submitted other posts. This is very common, right? So you have content for the entire week or entire month, and then you want to put all of them together in a single document for reviews. So here we're doing, this is the other posts too, all together. So one thing, this is about marketing claims. So marketing claims, Hugh, when was marketing claims was made available? Has it been there around?
Yeah, it's about a year ago now. Pushpa, we released auto claims linking in the feature, so the ability to identify claims and link it to the substantiation reference inside documents.
Yeah. So these are marketing claims automatically here in PromoMats. It just look for this word right here. This is a match text, 100% organic ingredients. And then we were able to tell, hey, there is actually a document that's attached to it, and this is a marketing claim. So there are two documents attached to it, and there is a claim, 100% organic ingredients is your match text. So the link to the document, so there's a document that's attached to the claim. So during the review, you'll be able to look at all these things together. And then also one more thing is the link here in the PDF, this is also work. So that means going back to the destination here, right? So the destination is this link right here. We're opening this up too. So that means for somebody that's reviewing, they have all the content ready. They have links that are ready here for them to review it. They know what the claim is. And then coming down here, it should be under linked to documents. So linked documents, these are the claims that are linked to it. And attachments and renditions. I think it's here, 100% organic. Now there is a same workflow that you're going to go over and approve it. I'm going to skip all these steps for today and then just move to approve for distribution. Otherwise, you would go through the similar steps right here. Okay, this is approved for distribution. Once it's approved, and then I'm ready to just push it. So post MarketBeam saying, so what we're doing here is, okay, this is all set. And now we had all these things under draft when we created it. Now it should all be under scheduled. So all these things it was pending, and then now it's all scheduled. So that means each one of these. So one thing that I forgot to mention here. So date of first use is also in this preview. So date of first use here, it is 3/12, and this is 3/15. So this is also an important information for the reviewer when this is going to go out and then when this has to be approved. So based on all these dates, all these posts got scheduled. So now you have it on the schedule. When the time comes, it is going to push it out. So I'll show you a sample post that we made. So this is how a post would look like. So once the time comes, it's tomorrow 9 o'clock, automatically it gets pushed out to this, and then we have this, post that is made on LinkedIn directly, LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever you choose. So again, going back to simple steps. So we created a post here, and then there was a draft, right? So that means we picked all the posts that we wanted to be reviewed, push it as one document with all the previews and links and the images that are from Veeva Vault PromoMats. And then we pushed it as one document to Veeva Vault. And then once it gets approved, and then directly it gets scheduled. So that means we are skipping all these steps, and it gets scheduled. And here the platform will push it out at the right time. I think there were a couple of questions around this. Does it link the components?
So Pushpa, you showed me in the past, they have the capability, once you've used the assets from Vault, you're able to link the components that you've used in the against the approval document.
So I think that should be in the, yes, linked documents. So if this is going back to, I think, like the image here. So image is the one that we pulled it back. I think, let me take another example where we should have that. It should be in the components. Sorry, I'm not able to find it. It should be in the components, and then you should be able to see that it will be, if the image is something that we pulled from Veeva Vault PromoMats, that we should have that link back to it, so that it's easy for the review process too.
So Fabrizio also asked in the questions about, do you see organizations creating monthly plans in Excel instead of the MLR review? Well, I think Fabrizio, I mean, obviously we want to try and move companies away from using Excel and kind of provide more automation in these kind of solutions. So I think where Pushpa showed earlier, the ability to create multiple posts in advance and then create one document for the approval, perhaps achieves with multiple different submission times, perhaps helps to negate the need for kind of manual kind of Excel documents and start move to kind of using more kind of sophisticated tools that allow you to audit and report on the posts themselves.
Yeah.
The other question, Pushpa, that came in is that, can you restrict users to only add images from Vault?
Yeah, so there are a few things that we can do that is like, first of all, this is for review only, right? So that means it has to go through the review and then no direct posting directly to social media. So until it is reviewed, it won't be published to social media. And then also to your point, yes, we can restrict use only the ones that are from the Veeva Vault PromoMats. But if it's not, then definitely it is still not published yet. So it should still be under the review too. So in many cases, it would also mean that sometimes in companies where there are multiple regions and they want to tweak the post after it gets centralized, I mean, where it is reviewed in a centralized place. So centralized review comes back, and then locally there would be some changes, right? So the local branches would make some different changes. Mostly it is, again, going back to images is a very common one, hue, right? So usually they make changes to the content sometimes images that they want to localize it. So it would go through the same process again. They make the changes here in pending, for example. You can edit the post and then make the changes. So I don't want these masks, but we can add something else. So, or maybe make a change to the text or something, and then it would go back for the review as well.
I think that makes sense, Pooja. I mean, just kind of hearing from Fabrizio, actually, commenting further on that, you know, the reason for that is kind of, you know, our customers want to ensure that they're making the most of their investment in PromoMats, and that means making the most of their investment in their own content. So if they're able to use MarketBeam as a way to continue to reuse content in social media posts and in other environments, they get more value out of using the solution. That's kind of one of the reasons why I think this is great, such a great solution. It doesn't just interface with the MLR or the PRC process. It all and provides value there and reduces risk, and so you kind of have more of an make more of a kind of social media engagement. It also allows our customers to reuse their content by interfacing directly with the DAM.
Yeah. So making this process more just like, you know, more transparent and then seamless too, right? So that's what we're aiming at here. So Hugh, do you see agencies use PromoMats directly? Do they have sometimes access to it?
Absolutely. Lots of our agencies use PromoMats directly. That's how the content gets in. So we have a very widely used agency program where agencies are very much a part of the workflow, from creation to being part of the approval process, and also to ensuring that they're part of the kind of content reuse workflows as well. So agencies are a huge part of our solution and the collaboration within PromoMats.
Yeah. So I think what we've seen is agencies create content and they leave it at draft, and the internal team sometimes come in and then take a look, and then they submit for approval. Okay, so we are on the same page, and instead of, again, like, you know, going back to spreadsheets and then emails, they come here, take a look at it. It's already like in the preview format. So preview, you can just see it very quickly, right? It's a fraction of a second automatically. We're creating the preview here. Take a look at it, they submit, and of course, you know, the whole process that they have, it's not a black box anymore.
Another question is coming from Fabrizio. So you often see two agencies involved, one for creation and one for posting. I think that's, you know, that's an interesting one, actually, when we think about the process of kind of managing the creation and the approval and the submission. But then there's another side to agencies' involvement in social media, and that's the listening. And it's actually very much part of the ABPI process, that kind of, if you are posting on social media, you have to take responsibility for responding to any adverse events that come from that, especially in the US, probably more so. So I know that you have an analytics part to your solution as well, Pushpa. That's perhaps not the same as social media, of social listening, but perhaps provides some additional benefits as well.
Absolutely. I think it's time to show that. Let me show my screen again. So this is analytics part. So that means when we posted this content, and then we're going to see what is the engagement on each one of these posts, and then going back and then looking at the analytics part to it. So here, starting with, like, you know, what's the earned media value? That means we are putting a dollar value for every organic reach that we have here, and then which is the best social media channel. This, first of all, this is an integrated dashboard of multiple social networks which again, if you're active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, we're bringing all of them into one single dashboard for a single view. And then clicks on every of these posts, and then hour by hour engagement. Hey, how come, like, what is the best day and time to post? So many again, like, this is for your content, your audience, and in your industry, what time is the best time? So Monday at 12 to 1, or it could be anything for your company. So which social network is how one versus the other is performing? Do you see more engagement on Twitter or LinkedIn? Again, only when we put all these data together in one place, we'll be able to tell. And then also, if you're like a very global company, where are your audience? Which part of the world is more resonated with the content that you are producing, and then you're reaching the audiences too on social media. So, and then going back and then looking at even further into which is that social media post that made a splash. So some of these posts make a lot more than the other. So going back and saying, okay, is this a hashtag? What is it that made it more popular? You will go to the granular level of social networks and then post, individual posts, and then again, like, even to the extent of its time of the day. And this is my personal favorite, is content types. There's a content strategy that is driven by, okay, what is the content type that's actually resonating with our audience? Because mostly we keep hearing that, hey, these are videos that resonate. I mean, this is all about these days, videos, and then that's the one that people watch. But each of our brands have our own audience prefers something else. Whether it is videos or events or articles or images, we don't know. Only when we put it in front of our audience, we would know. And then also looking at what type of the content strategy. So here, is it the corporate content, clinical trials content, or pipeline content, employee relations? It could be any type of your target topics. It could be, again, like, different products or different target geographical targets and things like that. So you can measure that too. And there is a lot of very detailed analytics too going forward. It's individuals, it's individual social networks here, LinkedIn alone, and then what's the cumulative click-throughs. There's a ton of data. Again, so you can slice and dice very well with all these things going forward.
Right, analytics, Pushpa.
So there's, I think, another poll coming up. Let's give 30 seconds. So let's see, because we were able to cover most of it here, but I think there's still a lot more components. And then based on the questions that you are asking, if you would like to see something more detailed, and then please send us the questions too before the demo so that we can cover those things. Again, PromoMats, I think you're familiar with PromoMats, and the product itself is so rich and deep. And then sometimes, we kind of miss out on the features too. One of our customers, so it's like, oh, there's more things coming up. We didn't know that we could do it. And then they keep learning. Of course, Veeva itself hosts several just educational product feature webinars. And then please go ahead and attend that too for new features. But here we are going to look at your own environment and how it might fit. So thank you for opting in, and then probably we will reach out to you and schedule these individual demos so we can talk about just your environment. Like to Fabrizio's comment is like, Fabrizio was talking about how multiple teams in various different locations are, but the content itself and the review process is centralized. At the same time, each one of them have to customize it to local audiences. So how do we do that? And then again, going back to Hugh's comment about like, we don't want any gaps, any risks, both to individuals and brands. That's what I'm trying to do. Hugh, any final thoughts?
Oh, well, I think Pushpa, as I mentioned before, I think it's a really exciting solution and a really great opportunity to start to think about how social media campaigns can become a reality in pharma. And so I'm very excited about the partnership and look forward to seeing where it goes in the future.
Thank you so much for coming to the webinar and then giving your perspective on the problems that your customers see today.
My pleasure, Pushan.
Thanks, everyone. And we will reach out to you. And first of all, you're going to get the recording of this one. And then also, if you requested the presentation, then definitely we will get to that too. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks a lot.